What's up, Pete Piper? Damn. Got the double chat going on. What's up, one man? I'm at UCR. Oh, I didn't put it in the title, huh? Yeah, I'm at UCR today. What's up, Base Truther? Yeah, it's a little bit fresh today compared to other days. I mean, it's been like high 90 degrees, right around 100, and today is gonna be low 70s. So I got a sweater on today, and plus I'm in the shade, so it is a little fresh. So we'll see how it goes. Cool. All right. It's about to be 11 a.m. here where I'm at. So we'll see how it goes. What's up, the Jolly Man? Alright. Make sure I have enough flyers here. Yeah. So, funny thing is, the reason why I got the idea to make the flyer like this, like double-sided, was because I actually made business cards first. So this was the business card that I made. So this was the original, you know, I guess concept behind the QR code was these cards, and I was just gonna pass them around. Just leave them some, you know, random places, and you know, I feel like, you know, to catch people's attention, right? But then I figured, like, oh shit, since my flyer, you know, it's blank, I was like, maybe I could put that in the front, right? It'll be a little bit, you know, catchy, and then when you open it, you'll know what it's about. You know, you don't have to go to the link and search the video, right? So it'll be just on the spot. So, you know, if it catches your attention, you know, you're gonna open the flyer and you're gonna know what it's about. So I was like, oh, that's a cool idea. You know, I could put that on the front of the flyer. But then I was like, damn, I'm gonna have the back blank and then the inside blank as well. Like, so I was like, what could I put, you know, in the back and then the other side, you know, because I don't want them to be blank. If I'm gonna pay for double-sided, might as well use everything, right? So that's when I just got the idea. You know what? I'm not that happy with the flyer that I have. You know, it was kind of a rough draft kind of thing. So I was like, you know, I'm just gonna remake it on the standard size, you know, and add the double-sided, you know, and actually make it cool, you know, I guess. And yeah, I decided, I was like, oh, maybe I could just put the A and B, you know, it gets to the point, you know, the water level, put the curve calculator, you know, and I figured, you know, this is pretty on point, you know, putting the A and B, but, you know, a little bit different here, just so people could grasp the idea and visualize water level and water curve, you know, how it's a clear difference between the two. Because a lot of people like to say that, oh, it's flat locally, but it's slightly curving, and it's like, I mean, if it is, we should be able to measure, right? So, you know, and then I was like, well, in the back, you know, I could put the horizon picture that I usually use, you know, this one. And also, you know, put something right here, kind of like to prove the point, you know, that a sloping horizon should never rise to eye level, you know, and boom. So yeah, this is how I ended up making this flyer. And obviously I remade the inside, made it like a little bit shorter, you know, to the point. So yeah, so it all came from this card, the idea of remaking it like the way I did. So pretty cool. Yeah, I ordered them from, well, I made a PDF file first, Microsoft Word, and then what you could do is go to any website. I went to printrunner.com. Oh, no. Was it print? Yeah, printrunner.com. Obviously, they do flyers. And yeah, just look for the size of paper that you use. That way there's no, they don't mess with the ratio of the file, basically. So 8.5 by 11, and upload your PDF. You want to upload a PDF because, you know, you want it to be as clear as possible. So you don't want a screenshot of the flyer. You want the PDF file. That way, you know, it comes out clear, you know, less pixels, you know. And yeah, just ordered it online, uploading the PDF file already, and yeah, I paid for them to fold it this time because last time I didn't, and it took a long ass time to fold the flyers, you know. It's not a good experience. So yeah, I gladly paid the fee to get them folded this time, especially since they're double-sided. So, and it's funny how out of this flyer, I got the idea to make the big banner. So I feel like the big banner is gonna be cool when I bring it out. I'm gonna take it to downtown Riverside first and see how it goes from there. So, but yeah, the big banner is gonna be interesting. For those of you who haven't seen my post, I made this flyer here into a 4x6 foot banner, so a big banner, just basically this information. And yeah, I'm gonna be having fun with that. I'm gonna go to downtown Riverside. I'm gonna test it out there first. I would like to bring it here to the university, but I don't know. We'll see in the future. Maybe I'll put it in this spot where I'm at right now. It's a good spot. But yeah, it's gonna be interesting. That's for sure. All right. So while we wait for people, I guess I could get into the topic of the conversation today, right? So the Flat Earth Society, right? Everybody knows they're controlled opposition, right? You know, to be honest, they're obviously a government institution. The fact that nobody real, not even government, you know, represents the Flat Earth Society, like no real Flat Earthers and no real Globers that I know of, you know, represent the Flat Earth Society. You know, even in the mainstream, you know, they don't. Obviously, they ridicule it, right? They'll bring it up to ridicule. So the Flat Earth Society misrepresents all the claims they make. It's not just the Earth rising, you know. So again, it's the controlled opposition is there to misrepresent the facts, so that real people that come across this, you know, the controlled opposition, they're automatically turned off. You know, so they don't use logic, they don't use reason. You know, they just make claims. You know, so. We'll start off with the first claim they make, which again, if you're a serious institution or anybody's in this topic of flat Earth and you want to be taken serious and you want to take, you know, you want to take this topic serious, you got to stop using the word flat Earth, you know, especially that's the first go-to, you know, to start a conversation, because automatically when you use that word, people automatically put a wall up and already have their preconceived ideas. So again, if you want to take this topic serious and you want to be taken serious, that's already the first misrepresentation of the Flat Earth Society. The fact that they call themselves the Flat Earth Society, it's pretty cringy, you know. But here's the reason why Flat Earth is not a good term to use. Because there's a difference between flat and level. It's a big difference. So this paper's flat. Well, you know what I mean. Flat, right? I could have it on a slant and it's still flat, but it's not level anymore. You know what I'm saying? So something that's flat doesn't have to be level, because again, flat and level don't mean the same thing. Now, if I have something level, that means it has orientation. It's level relative to something, right? And in my opinion, obviously reality shows that level, it's relative or perpendicular to the direction of motion. You know, that's level. It's orientation. You know, you can't have something level without motion. Think about that. If you had something that's level but it's not, there's no motion, there's no vector, then you could just say, you know, it's flat, you know, because again, flat has nothing to do with orientation. So yeah, the fact that the Earth is level proves that there's a vector, and in order to have a vector, there needs to be motion, you know. So again, using the word flat Earth or flat Earth, I get it that it was trending, but it was trending on purpose, if you ask me, you know. It's pretty obvious, you know, by now, but again, flat Earth is not the correct term. And not only that, it's, you know, it's the #1 ridiculed topic right now, and that's how they ridicule it. So for many reasons, you know, we should stay away from flat Earth, especially when you come, again, it's just my opinion. Again, people could do whatever they want. If you want to do your own activism and put flat Earth, research flat Earth on a big banner or something like that, then kudos to you, you know, go for it. I'm just speaking from my experience, you know. If you really want people to take you a bit serious, because even how I do this, when I bring up the subject, you can start seeing, you know, you see people starting to smirk a little bit, you know, so you see this body language that they want to ridicule it, but because I already established the facts with them, it's hard for them to do that, you know. So, but again, if I was to start off with flat Earth off the back, they won't even let me get my points across to begin with, right? So that's the first misrepresentation. It's level, not flat. So again, because it has orientation, and orientation requires motion. But I think that's why they stay away from the level Earth, from using the correct term level, because again, it would have to mean that there has to be some kind of motion vector, to be level. Again, level is relative to motion. You can't just have something that's level motionless. That doesn't make any sense. That's just physics, basic physics. So that again, the second claim that they misrepresent is the Earth is accelerating at 9.8 meters per second. So again, they're misrepresenting that claim because, yeah, the Earth is in motion, but it's not accelerating. So they just take the Flat Earth Society just took the globe Earth model, which, by the way, they didn't tangibly, measure the circumference of the Earth. So that ball Earth model is a completely made up dimensions, basically. Hey, how's it going? You want to take some information with you? Yeah, here, man. Do you have any questions? You could come back and, have a chat with me.
Can you tell me?
Oh, it's the other way. That's my channel right there. You can check me out.
Oh, YouTube channel?
Yeah, YouTube channel. Yeah, you could check it out, the information in there. And I'm pretty sure you heard about this topic before.
All right, sure.
Yeah. Hey, man. You have a good one. Yeah, he was just passing by and gave him a flyer. But, yeah, so again, they say the Earth is accelerating at 9.8 meters per second. Oh, again, I was saying how the ball Earth isn't even a tangible. So it's a completely made up circumference, it's a completely made up model. But yet they want us to believe that the Earth looks like the globe, but a flat version of it. But that would mean we're still using the same calculations that they use to measure the globe. In other words, the circumference line is still the same. The layout of the map still kind of looks the same, except for the south. It should be spread out, right? My point is, if the circumference of the ball Earth wasn't a tangible measurement, it was just basically plain on perception, and it completely made up. Why? And obviously, we shouldn't take that model serious. Why the fuck are we taking the flat Earth map, disk map serious? Because again, it was a completely made up circumference. Therefore, that map by default is completely wrong. So that circumference of the 24,901 around a flat Earth map is wrong too. So that circular map is wrong too. It's just the globe flattened out. Literally, Again, we don't know the dimensions of the Earth. Anybody making claims that they know what it is, especially using that map, you're using a globe Earth, basically depiction of the Earth just flattened out, and you don't even realize it. But point being is that, so the second point is, it's kind of the same. They misrepresent, so the Earth accelerating, which means our weight will have to be increasing every second, apparently, because it's accelerating by the second, right? Everybody knows that our weight doesn't increase. I mean, so it's so stupid and retarded to claim that Earth is accelerating and getting faster and faster and faster and faster. Another thing they say is that it's moving in a straight line. Again, these are just claims that they're making, but they're misrepresenting the facts. They're misrepresenting reality, because it doesn't fit. In my opinion, the Earth cannot be moving in a straight line because we have a low tide and a high tide in the oceans, showing us that the water is showing us that the Earth is not moving in a straight line. Otherwise, there wouldn't be any deviation in the water. The fact that there is deviation in the water shows us that the water is reorientating itself, and not moving in a straight line. But the Flat Earth Society says it's moving in a straight line and accelerating. So therefore, anybody claiming that the Earth is in motion automatically gets lumped in with those claims of the Flat Earth Society. That literally just sounds like the globe grouping people and just calling them flat earthers. You know what I'm saying? It's literally the same thing what they're doing with this Earth moving, having motion. They're just trying to group people and misrepresent people and just lump them in and make it seem like they're claiming that the same thing the Flat Earth Society claims, which is acceleration in a straight line, which is retarded. You know what I'm saying? But again, that's how they misrepresent the Earth's motion. But they also misrepresent the flat Earth. So my question, I'll get into the third thing they misrepresent. But my question is, when people bring up and dismiss the Earth's motion, because the Flat Earth Society said so in their controlled opposition. Well, they also say the Earth is flat. So my questioning to you is, what logic and reasoning are you using to accept that the Earth is flat, but dismiss that the Earth is in motion? They're both coming from the Flat Earth Society, which is controlled opposition. Both of those claims are coming from there, but you accept one and dismiss the other? why? What's the reasoning behind accepting one and dismissing the other? You know what I'm saying? Did somebody tell you to dismiss one and accept the other one? Or was it you coming to that conclusion logically, practically, you know? And it's a reasoned conclusion. Or again, or is it just because somebody told you to ridicule it? You know, you got to ask yourself that, because again, it's a misrepresentation, you know, how they present it, and it's on purpose. So the third claim that they misrepresent is that the founder, right, of the Flat Earth Society, I don't know his name, Ferrari, I don't know what the fuck his name is. He was hanging off the edge of the earth, right, and he supposedly brings a rock with him to these interviews, right? That supposedly the guy that represents the Flat Earth Society. By the way, these videos are old, you know, but he says he was falling off of the edge of the earth and he was hanging on by this rock, you know. So again, in order for there to be an edge and you falling off of it, you have to claim that there's no containment of Earth. So by making that claim, you're saying Earth is an open system? That's fucking retarded. So again, they misrepresent the flat Earth because it's level. They misrepresent the motion of the Earth. They claim it's accelerating, which is not, and moving in a straight line. And they also claim that the Earth is an open system because he was falling off of the edge of the Earth, apparently. So apparently Earth is not contained anymore. It's an open system, and there's space out there, apparently, you know, somehow. Again, they misrepresent what's out as well. I'm assuming they say that there's space out there. I don't know what the fuck they claim on when it comes to that, but again, it's all propaganda. It's all bullshit from the flat Earth, from the motion of the Earth, and from being an open system. They make those three claims, you know. And I ask you guys, why do you guys accept one and dismiss the other two? Well, I understand dismissing him, you know, falling off the edge of the Earth, because that's, you know, Earth is a closed system, you know. That's retarded. That's a retarded thing. But why do you accept the flat Earth but dismiss the motion of the Earth? Is there any logic behind that, or is it just because it makes you feel uncomfortable? You know, because by the looks of it, it looks like it just makes people feel uncomfortable. You know, that's what I've, you know, concluded. You know, but let me look at the comments real quick. Fluid dynamics. Yeah, tides must be something to do with the tide. I don't know. Great point, William. Yeah. That's the thing though. The tides, even if you think it was just something mechanical under causing the high tide and low tide, there's no machine or mechanical device that could deviate water without motion of the container. You know, or with, you know what I'm saying? Because again, horizontal acceleration will cause the water to deviate. You know, so if you're claiming that it's not motion of the container or acceleration of the container, in other words, to change the vector, and you're claiming it's some kind of other mechanism, then that would have to be kind of recreated, you know, to even be taken serious. But if that cannot be recreated, which I don't think it's possible, because water cannot deviate without motion, then, you know, the burden of proof is on the person making the claim, you know, to at least show a practical demonstration, you know. Fifth grader, you want to give it a shot?
That's not.
All right, man, no worries. Oh, so it's funny that, you know, speaking of the tides, so in the globe Earth model, right, how are the tides created, supposedly, right? It's the gravitational pull of the moon, right, that creates the tides. Now you have some stationary flat earthers. I'm not going to say all, because I'm not the type to just group everybody, but you have some stationary flat earthers saying it's the sun that creates the tides, that the heat of the sun makes a bulge in the ocean, and that's what the high tide and low tide are. So they're willing to obfuscate that the water's level to defend their belief about a motionless Earth. They're willing to obfuscate Earth water being level, because they're claiming now it's bulging, that the sun's causing it. So again, look how far they're going to defend the motionless Earth belief. They're willing to obfuscate water being level to basically make, you know, to make themselves feel good, I guess, about it, about believing that. I don't know. It's weird, but saying that the Earth, I mean that the tides cause the that the sun causes the tides on Earth, it's no different than saying that the moon causes them. It's crazy, man. It's pretty crazy. Ocean tides making believers dreaming and feeling. Child of God, if the tides tell you that, if tides cannot show that the water is being drained and filling, because then the water level the tidal range will be equal all across the earth. There wouldn't be a tidal range gradient, you know, because the tidal range deviates from all the way to 52 feet all the way down to 0. So it's a gradient. It's not a constant, you know, deviation, I guess you could say, which would be if the water is being drained. If the water is being drained from a container, the water level is gonna fall equally, and then when you fill it back up, it's gonna drain. It's gonna fill equally, you know. So again, the tidal range will be equal all across the earth, which is not. That shows us, it proves to us that the water's not being drained in and out. You know, it's a horizontal movement of water. You know, it's in the definition, you know, for a reason. But yeah, high tide, low tide wouldn't work if the water's being drained out and then filled back in. You wouldn't get a high tide and a low tide. You'll just get a high tide all around, and then you'll get a low tide all across the earth. You wouldn't get them simultaneously, especially with a gradient. You don't even know they're informing you of the volumetric expansion of liquids as a local sun heats the water, creating sun's heat the water. Okay, again, these claims of heat making water deviate. I mean, you need to have an experiment, a practical demonstration, a smaller scale representation of showing how heat can make water deviate to cause a high tide and low tide, you know. But at the end of the day, physics proves that objects don't accelerate down anyway. There's no displacement of gas and liquid, you know, within a bottle and free fall, which there should be, you know. So let me see. I just thought I get it, but you know, I'll go with physics. You know, there can be other options for tides besides wobble or deviation. I mean, yeah, you know, it could be. But you gotta understand too, the tides, yeah, whatever it is something that's constant. You know, the tides happen twice a day, which means there's a high tide and low tide. There's a two high tides and 2 low tides, I think, twice a day. So every 6 hours, you know, there's you could say that, or every 12 hours for the whole cycle. So I have a little demonstration I wanted to go over, and it's about the horizontal acceleration within a container and helium balloon. I know I've done one before, but I'll go over it again. And yeah, it's let me see, about 4 minutes long, so we'll go over it and then see how it goes. Alright, let me put the volume up. I was happy with that. Okay, so here we go.
So here's that closed compartment, and here's the apple. There's gravity in this direction.
By the way the mainstream perceives gravity. Gravity, they claim gravity is the force, but gravity, the way they describe it, it's the equal and opposite effect of the motion of the Earth. So the resistance, you know, and objects appearing to fall, it's what they call gravity. You know, resistance, basically. You know, the equal and opposite effect. That's what they call gravity. So I just wanted to make that point real quick.
To fall in that direction of gravity if I cut the wire. Now I'm going to accelerate it in this direction. And when I do that, I add a perceived component of gravity in the opposite direction.
Look what he said. You add a perceived component of gravity. In other words, it's just apparent. You know, an apparent component of gravity. Because again, gravity is the effect of motion. You know, that's what they're jumping ahead, basically. So again, it's only apparent, you know. component of gravity. It's not a physical measurement of gravity. You know, that's the opposite effect, the opposite direction of the motion, basically.
So I add a perceived component of gravity in this direction. So this apple wants to fall down because of the gravity that I cannot avoid, and it wants to fall in this direction. So what will the string do? It's very clear, very intuitive. No one has any problem with that. The string will do this. Now I have a balloon here. Helium. There's gravity in this direction. That's why the balloon wants to go up. Opposes gravity. I'm going to accelerate the car in this direction. I introduce perceived gravity in this direction. What does the balloon want to do? It wants to go against gravity. I build up in here. It must be a closed compartment.
It wants to go against gravity. It wants to go against, no, because it wants to go with the motion, because it's less dense than the air, so the air is able to push it. So, you know, it doesn't want to go the opposite direction of gravity. Well, I guess you could say, because gravity, again, is the resistance. It's the equal and opposite, you know. But
build up there a pressure differential. The air wants to fall in this direction. I build up a pressure here which is larger than the pressure there. That's why it has to be a closed compartment. What will the helium balloon do? It will go like that. That is very non-intuitive. So I accelerate this car, as I will do. The apple will go back, which is completely consistent with all our intuition, but the helium balloon will go forward. Let's first do it with the apple, which is totally consistent with anyone's intuition. Let me make sure that the apple is not swinging too much. Now it only happens during the acceleration. So it's only during the very short portion that I accelerate.
Again, we are having to accelerate for these experiments here on Earth because we're having to overcome the already existing motion or vector of the Earth. So because we live in this environment where, you know, it's in constant motion, in order to get the effect of buoyancy of objects being pushed back towards a container and less dense object being pushed towards the front, you know, it requires motion, basically.
That you see the apple go back, and then of course it starts to swing. Forget that part. So watch closely. Only the moment that I accelerate, the apple will come this way. Goes into the direction, the extra component of perceived gravity. Ready? Boy, it almost hit this glass here. Everyone could see that, right? Okay. Now we're going to do it with the balloon.
So, ball Earth believers would say that the apple, there was a force that pushed the apple towards the back of that container. You know, that's what basically global believers and stationary earthers now claim, that the force that made the apple go towards the back of the containment, you know, it wasn't the motion of the container, that it was a force that made it look like it went back, you know. But we know in this experiment that the apple didn't get pushed back, you know. It tried to remain where it was, and the container moved towards it. That's what happened. The container moved towards the apple, giving the apparent illusion that the apple swung back towards the container. But again, the apple was just in place. It didn't move back. You know, it was a container that moved towards the apple, and again, that gave you that effect. You know.
I'm going to take this one off. And now let's take one of our beautiful balloons.
Again, and he explained with the helium balloon, it needs to be a contained system, because when you accelerate or when you put it into motion, there's a compression of air that goes to higher compression of air that goes towards the back of the container, and then less pressure goes towards the front. And because again, helium, based on its density, it's gonna equilibrate and go towards the less dense, because helium is obviously less dense than air.
We're going to put a balloon in here. It has to be a closed compartment so that the air can build up the pressure differential. always a problem with static charges on these systems. Okay. Only as long as I accelerate will the balloon go in forward direction. So I accelerate in this direction, and what you're going to see is really very non-intuitive. Every time I see it, I say to myself, I can reason it. But do I understand it? I don't know. What is the difference between reasoning and understanding? There we go. Balloon went this way. You can do this in your car with your parents. It's really fun to do it. Have a string with an apple or something else, and have a helium balloon. Close the windows. Don't have to be totally closed, but more or less. And ask your dad or your mom to slam the brakes. If you slam the brakes, what will happen? The apple will go. What do you think? If you slam the brakes, the apple will go forward, balloon will go backward. If you accelerate the car all of a sudden, the apple will go backwards and the balloon will go forward. You can do it at home. You can entertain your parents with Thanksgiving.
All right, so basically, when he accelerates the container, what happens is you basically create a pressure gradient within that container. Because again, the air is being contained, and when you accelerate that frame of reference, the air that's inside cannot escape. You know, air cannot go through walls, you know. So what happens is when you accelerate it, the air's it's starting to get stacked, you know. The air cannot stack itself on its own, you know. So the fact that we have a pressure gradient but again, in order for it to have a pressure gradient of air, you know, to be stacked the way it is, it's only possible through having the container in motion. So when people say, "Oh, we don't detect the Earth being in motion," or "the Earth's not in motion," like the Jolly Man likes to say, guess what? We have a pressure gradient. We have density layers. We have weight. We have orientation. We have all of these things that we can experience and even measure, you know. And they're only possible through motion of the reference frame, or the Earth reference frame. You know, there is no other way you could get a pressure gradient, you know, without motion. You know, there's no mechanical device or technology that could arrange and stack air in a certain orientation without motion. It just doesn't work. That, you know, that's physics. You know, this is physics. And again, it happens because the air, it's being pressed up against, and again, the air cannot go through walls. It cannot go through matter. So again, it's stuck there, and then again, that's how you get the columns. You know, with the more dense at the bottom because it has the most weight above it, and then the less dense at the top. You know, again, only be achieved through motion. You know, there's no other way. And if you think there is another way, then I would love for you to share that demonstration. You know, you could leave a link at the end of this video, because I know you can't leave a link right now in the chat, but you could leave a link in the end of this video. Maybe put the name of the experiment of the video on the link. I mean, on the chat, and maybe, you know, one of us could check it out. But to date, I have not seen a practical demonstration other than motion to create density layers and a pressure gradient like we experience here on Earth. You know. Again, another thing, water. Water's always going to show us the direction of motion. Always. It's always going to displace when it's in motion. Water's very sensitive to motion. Very sensitive to motion. It's like, I don't even think air, you know, I think water's more sensitive to motion than air, you know, but I mean, air, you know, there's disturbances in the air though, but for us to detect, it's easier to detect motion in water than in the air, obviously, because we can't see the air. We can't see the ripples in the air, but we could see the ripples in water, you know, and water is very sensitive to motion. So when objects, you know, when people claim that objects accelerate down, you know, water should show that acceleration, especially if we could recreate that acceleration and see the motion of the water, you know. Then when it's in free fall, if it's truly accelerating down, then we should see that motion again, you know, the same motion of acceleration, but it just disappears, you know. Oh, but an object seems to accelerate, you know, the higher you drop it, you know. Yeah, that's because it's decelerating, you know. And again, at the end of the day, nobody knows the speed of the Earth, the rate, the actual rate in which things decelerate, because we don't know the speed of the Earth, therefore we don't know how fast things decelerate, you know. These are all just speculations, you know. But again, math doesn't prove reality at the end of the day. Physics proves reality. But they flip that on us, and again, that's why the globe Earth model has to have all these precise numbers and you know, and all these equations about, and in specific numbers about everything, because again, that's the only thing they have. So that's like their best way to get people to convince people, basically, because the physics shows otherwise, you know. So, man, you guys want to take some information with you? No? All right, man. God damn, there's a lot of flies right here. So, I was going over this video of the bowling ball and feather in the last video, and I didn't get a chance to finish it. But again, very relevant to go over, because again, even the mainstream admits that objects don't accelerate down. You know, that's why they had to come up with the theory of relativity. You know, Einstein had to come up with it because they needed a better explanation for their model, because physics, you know, again, the laws of motion, you know, debunked the theory of gravity of mass attracting mass. So again, Einstein had to come up with the bending and warping of space-time to explain how, oh, it's the Earth reference frame that's moving up towards the objects, you know, and here's the explanation, and don't ask any questions about it, you know, point blank. But yeah, I'll just go over that real quick. It's kind of short.
Isaac Newton would say that the ball and the feather fall because there's a force pulling them down, gravity. But Einstein imagined the scene very differently. The happiest thought of his life was this: the reason the bowling ball and the feather fall together is because they're not falling. They're standing still. There is no force acting on them at all.
So in other words, in my opinion, this word falling, it's kind of like a word like pool. It's just a description of direction, if you ask me. Because free fall should be, if anything, a free body. You know, that's the correct term when things are in free fall. You know, it's just a free body. You know, that, by my opinion, that's the correct term. But again, they use these other words like pool and falling, and to kind of trick your mind into accepting that there's another force causing that. You know, because it's falling, right? Oh, things fall because they go down, right? But no, it's an apparent fall. The correct term is a free body. You know, it's a free body. You know, it's not attached to the earth, therefore it's not in motion. It's not, you know, there's no orientation to it, there's no weight to it. It's a free body. You know, but again, they use these words fall, in my opinion, to trick people's minds, because again, people prefer language over reality nowadays. You know, they're you know, they're shown all these equations and all these different explanations, and they take that as reality. So again, that's the part of the problem. You know, people need to understand basic physics. Once you do that, people making claims about physics that contradict physics, you'll know that it's bullshit. You know, but yeah.
He reasoned that if you couldn't see the background, there'd be no way of knowing that the ball and the feathers were being accelerated towards the earth. So he concluded they weren't.
Alright. So yeah, there you go. Even the mainstream admits, with their modern explanation of gravity, you know, that objects don't accelerate now. So they're past that already, you know, because again, the laws of motion shows that you need a force in order to make objects move. Again, we all know this meme. Everybody's seen this meme before, you know. Again, the same laws apply to objects in free fall. You need a force, you know, to create motion. You know what I'm saying? Like, so again, the globe Earth realized that, and again, they refined their explanation. But stationary flat earthers are back to square one. They're going backwards, if anything. Now you have some stationary flat earthers saying that is not a force, that objects fall because of something else. It's not a force, apparently. It's like this other magical thing that accelerates objects, but it's not a force. I cannot practically show you a demonstration of that force or what it does, but believe me, it's not a force that accelerates it, because obviously, that's provable, but it's not a force. Like, if that has any more validity, if anything, it's worse. It's worse. It'd be better if you made up an imaginary force like gravity to at least explain it, but the fact that you don't even have a force and admit that there's no force, that is just the way it is, there's just direction, because that's the way it was created, and that's even worse. You know what I'm saying? Especially if physics shows otherwise. I know it's kind of weird how people are dismissing this, without any reason. Basically, it's just emotions. Literally, it's like the flat Earth all over again. People are too emotional to look into this. It's only a matter of time, though. Like the flat Earth, in the first year or two, I would see a lot of pushback, a lot of people. Again, this could have all just been controlled comments as well. We don't know how many sock puppet accounts are there really. But now, it seems like more people are understanding, the flat Earth and stuff like that. But now, with the motion of the Earth, it's like, again, back to square one. Again, people that I guarantee you, most people that just believe the Earth is flat, I guarantee you, all of these people claim the Earth is motionless too. Again, that's just an assumption, obviously. But based on what I'm witnessing, that's what it seems like. Everybody that believes the Earth is flat, I guarantee you, believes the Earth is motionless too. And again, that's no different than believing the globe Earth model. You're not thinking for yourself. You're not discerning. It's no different. And that's what they want. That's what the mainstream wants. They just want a bunch of followers. And again, they don't want people to critically think, because once you start to critically think about this topic, you're gonna start to critically think about other topics, like how we should be living. How the Earth provides everything for us, and it's other men that is taking control of that and controlling our lives. All of that comes after you realize you've been fucked about what this place actually is. Been lied to about what your true purpose is, the nature of your existence. That's what we're being lied to about. The shape of the Earth, is part of it, but it's lying to us about the nature of this very existence, of our own existence. Think about that. They're lying to us about our own existence, about who you are. Pretty crazy. You believe the Earth is a ball? You're not you. You're basically an NPC. You were basically programmed. You were told all of these things. You didn't come to these realizations on your own. You didn't go through the processing that it takes to, reason and come to conclusions on your own. You were just told this stuff when you were little, and you accepted it, and that's it. That's your life right now. You're not living. You know what I'm saying? Most people are not living nowadays. We're just, even myself. I find it hard to live. In this society, in this structure of fucking, just bills, basically. Which again is just to keep us down, to keep us from figuring out what's really going on. At the end of the day, I don't know what's going on. In the bigger picture, I don't know what this place is. I don't know where I'm at on Earth. This idea is this thing we call life. It's completely, if you ask me what we're doing, it's completely wrong. Literally. Again, I don't have the right way of living. That's up to you to figure out what you want to do, once you think for yourself. But I could tell you that this system is to the detriment of the majority. Let's just say that. It only benefits a few. And little do they know, like, these people that are benefiting from this system, they're the most handicapped. They're the ones relying on us. We don't rely on them. They rely on us. But they have they flip the script. They have people believing that we need representatives, that we need people to take care of us, that we need government, basically. Otherwise, shit's just gonna go hell. But the fact is, they need us. And that's the trick right there. If they could get you to believe otherwise, then yeah, you're gonna be a willful slave. That's the kind of mentality that breeds. You know, but again, once you start critically thinking and realizing shit for yourself, you'll realize that they need us. They're the ones that are handicapping themselves because they have everybody else doing everything for them. You know what I'm saying? So, again, it's just psychological game. You know, this flat Earth and motion of the Earth, and you know, again, it's just to make you warp your common sense so that you don't think for yourself, so you don't commit to your own being. Think about that. You know, what other human being has the right to say that they're above everyone else? Based on what? You know what I'm saying? Like, okay, you say you have this fucking sixth sense apparently that none of us have, that you're able to figure out shit and understand shit that we can't. That's retarded. If your claim cannot be simplified, then it's bullshit. It's that simple. Especially if it's not practical, you know. Obviously, a claim has to be practical, you know, and very simple to understand. You know, language is not required when we're talking about physics. You know, and again, it should be very easy to understand. I could show someone how to ride a bike without saying a word. Literally, I don't have to say a word. I just have to show you how to ride a bike. You know, I'll put your feet on the pedal. You know, without saying a word, I'll just show you and do the motion. You know, again, physics doesn't require language. You know what I'm saying? You know, same thing driving a car. You don't need to be told. You just have to observe and, you know, understand, you know. But yeah, see what the comments have to say. Will the helium balloon experiment in the container while moving things is so clear for me. Yep. Maybe solids fall at about the same rate because of the resistance of the gas medium they're falling through, not their size or different strength forces required. So you're saying gas accelerates things down? How can... Oh, even if the air resisted everything to be like, that would still have to, the air will have to kind of, it still doesn't make any sense because you would still need a force to accelerate things down, you know. And then obviously the explanation after that would be that the air makes everything accelerate at the same rate. But the thing is that when you remove the air, like the feather and bowling ball experiment that I just showed, objects still accelerate at the same rate. So even though there's no air or practically no air resistance, you know, so air resisting has nothing to do with accelerating objects, you know, at the same rate, you know, especially if you could recreate again a vacuum or a near perfect vacuum and not have any resistance and objects still, you know, accelerate at the same rate. Because if the air had something to do with that, then obviously when you remove the air, the heavier object should fall faster than the lighter object, you know, if weight is the reason, you know, if there's a force creating that weight in the air, you know. But we know that's not the case, you know, again. Every experiment shows that, you know. To create something with the ability to question everything and search out the whole truth of it will be evil intent to make it impossible to find these we urge after. Right. Jollyman, helium balloons released against inverted scales proves RDD. That's the opposite. So, you guys want to give it a shot? No? Alright. People are so awkward nowadays. They were literally making eye contact with me, right? So I made eye contact with them. They were smiling, looking at the sign. So I said, you guys want to give it a shot? And nothing. They just kept looking at me, smiling, and they just kept walking, turned away. Like, oh my god, that wasn't awkward. Like, you could have just said no, you know, or just nodded your head or something. Like, you just looked at me and walked away still. Like, just kept walking. It's kind of funny. People being awkward is funny to me. You know? I mean, I'm awkward myself sometimes. I'm not gonna lie, you know. Aren't we all? I just think it's funny when, you know, when it happens randomly. helium balloons released against inverted scales is the opposite is measured upward weight. What? There's upper weight because there is a force pushing heliums up. That's why you could put a scale and it will reach something, because it is being pushed up. The claim is, or what physics shows is that when objects are being accelerated down, there's no weight. So again, if there's no weight of objects accelerating up, but there is weight of objects being pushed up, or a force, in other words, there is a force pushing objects up and there is no force pushing objects down. I mean that tells you right there. Easy. Even if the Flat Earth Society was like a real institution, supposedly, obviously it's controlled, but even if it was like a tax funded, you could say, or somehow, point being, they're completely irrelevant. Like, it's the claims that matter, the members and all this, all that's irrelevant at the end of the day. It's the claims that have to be put to the test, you know what I'm saying? And the claims that have to be looked at, not how many members they had, and all that. That's just to highlight the point that, that, in my opinion, I don't see anybody representing that, But at the end of the day, it doesn't really matter. It's the claims that are bullshit, so. That's right, JT, nothing moves down. Water will show that if they did. Yeah, but that's the thing. If you were looking for a community, you're already in a wrong mindset, This topic is about individuals standing up, for what's right. If you're the kind of person that's looking for communities and looking for somewhere to fit in, then you're not, you're part of the problem still, if you ask me. Again, there's nothing wrong with individuals coming together, right? But someone looking for a community, looking for confirmation bias about their beliefs and what you guys say makes me feel good, so I'm gonna be part of your group. That's not the type of mentality that you want to have. You're gonna be falling into the same tricks again, just being a follower, not thinking for yourself. And again, when you're not committed to your common sense, you can easily be influenced by ridicule. That's another thing, because you're not sure. I'm not sure, and I'm getting ridiculed. That's even more pressure. So again, it's all strategic, all this ridicule, all this misinformation, and all that is so that you don't commit to your own senses, because again, once you commit, once you understand, the ridicule it's laughable, it's pathetic, it doesn't affect you whatsoever, it's like a nuisance, you know what I'm saying? It's like you just want to get over it already, like, and get to the, you're done laughing, all right, now let's get back to the topic at hand, right? Like, that's the kind of mentality that I have, the ridicule to me, it's pathetic, if you're gonna troll, at least troll with facts, you know what I'm saying? So, that's what I would like to do, or at least that's what I kind of try to do. When you try to troll me, I troll them back a little bit, it just kind of happens naturally too, when I'm having the conversation, but yeah, ridicule, all that are the tactics of the globe, you know what I'm saying? Again, ridicule is not a bad thing. It's not a bad tool if you're using it correctly. If you're using ridicule to correct someone, to make someone see the error of their ways, then ridicule is a very useful tool to help others, to help them see how ridiculous they're being. That's where ridiculing could be useful. So yeah, if you're a truther or a realist in this topic, then yeah, ridiculing could be used, especially with around your friends and family, especially, you don't want to just joke with strangers because you don't know how strangers are going to act, but with your friends and family, you can start trolling, make jokes, stuff like that, that could make them feel a little bit stupid or some type of way, right? Maybe it'll get them thinking, But yeah, they know ridicule is a very strong tool, and they use it left, right, and center. They're using it. They're overusing it. Let's just say that. They are overusing the ridicule, and someone like me, you know, people that are in this, it's just cringy. You know what I'm saying? Like, not only does it not affect me, but it's just fucking cringy. It's pathetic. You know what I'm saying? It just shows how desperate they are, you know, if anything. But again, someone that hasn't committed to their senses, their own intuition, they're going to be swayed by that. They're going to be put in their place. You know, because when you start thinking, maybe start asking questions, but then you get ridiculed, that's them putting you in your place, you know, or them trying to, at least, you know. It's not going to work with me, that's for sure. But, you know, it does work with the majority. And again, this is a process, I think, that it's going to have to change, you know, little by little. You know, but the more people are out there, you know, spreading the truth, you know, representing the facts, even trolling with the facts if you want to do that, you know, that's what's going to help this, you know, move forward. And yeah, a lot of people ask, like, well, what do you want to happen, or what's going to happen when the majority finds out, you know, about this lie? And it's like, to be honest, I don't know. If I'm being 100% honest, as a whole, like, I don't know what's going to happen, you know. I can only control my surroundings, my life, you know. And to be honest, I don't know what direction I'll be going, because again, I would have to see, you know, where society is and all that, then that could help me, you know, in my path as well, you know. But if I'm being honest, I don't know. Part of the reason why I'm out here too is because I want to know what's gonna happen. I mean, you know, obviously the government, it's gonna, if you ask me, government will be ostracized, you know what I'm saying? Now, they're the ones that provide the economy, so what are we gonna do, right, for trade? I think it's just gonna have to be trade. We got to stop using the government's economy or any other institution's economy, even gold. I don't even think we should be using gold, you know, just straight up trade of valuables, things that you could grow and harvest, and services that you could provide, you know, and stuff like that, you know. That's going to be the key to getting out of this situation, you know, for sure. Hello. So you guys want to give it a shot, right? Yeah, okay, so two very easy questions. How about water and orientation? You guys know what orientation is, right?
Yeah.
So, where's my water? Oh, sorry. So, water. A fun fact about water. Regardless of the orientation of the bottle, water always goes down. You know, it always goes towards the lowest point, right? Regardless of the orientation of the bottle, right? That's a fact.
Where's your science major? Science major, get over here.
So since we understand the fact about water, you know, that it only has one orientation, right? Based on how we understand water behaves, which one of these two images is upside down or not in the correct orientation? Obviously, both of the bottles are in the same orientation, but one photograph, based on how, you know, how water behaves, one of them is not in the correct orientation. It's actually upside down. Which one or two? Two. Okay. Yeah, you guys got it. Yeah. Why did you say number two? Exactly, because the water can't stick to the top, right? So it actually sticks like this. So yeah, you guys got it. That was good. And so yeah, there you go.
Take that, YouTube.
So there's one more, last one. So another thing about water, level, what could be another word for level?
Is it rise?
Horizontal or even could be a proper definition. So just real quick, which one represents level, A or B? And if you guys get it correct, I'll give you guys a flyer. Which one represents level? Hey, perfect. You guys got it. All right, here you guys go.
Thank you.
There you go.
Thank you.
All right, you guys take care. Yeah, they were just passing by, so. Yeah. That was kind of cool. Yeah, noticing there's a lot of, I would assume, high school students that are like visiting the campus. You know, you get a lot of that right here. I'm assuming at every campus. You know, but yeah, I feel like I'm refining the especially the orientation question a little bit better. I kind of have to explain what orientation is before I ask the question. That way we're on the same page. Because I've noticed that in the beginning, when I'll say, oh, which one's in the correct orientation, which is not in the, a lot of people, orientation, again, it could be in like a meeting, right? Or an orientation, right? Like it could be like a meeting. So again, I have to specify what kind of orientation I'm talking about, which is positioning relative to the ground, right? Or relative to the level, which again, it's relative to motion.
Hello.
What's up, man? So you guys want to give it a shot?
Yeah.
2 very easy questions, and they have to do with water and orientation. So you guys know what orientation is,
Yeah.
right? So I could hold the bottle sideways, upside down, or right side up. That's 3 different orientations, right? So a fun fact about water, that no matter what orientation the bottle is, water always seeks the lowest point and it always levels out. Regardless of the orientation of the bottle, water only has one orientation. Yeah, that's a fact. So since we understand that fact about water, that it only has one orientation, which one of these 2 pictures is not in the correct orientation? Since we understand water always goes to the lowest point, always goes down, which one of these is not in the correct orientation?
See, like, the way the fingers are, like, stressed out,
Oh.
it shows that it's, like,
What's going to show you, look at the water. I painted the water blue with food coloring just to make it easier to see.
Oh, I
So based on how water behaves, which one would you say is upside down of these 2?
This one.
Do you think this image is upside down?
I think that one's the right.
That one's...
Oh, this one's right side up.
Yeah, that's the right one.
The right one? Okay, so you think this one's the one upside down?
Yeah.
Yeah, you got it. And why do you think this one's upside down?
Because what's it called? You can tell that the water is like it's if it was upright, it would look like it's like floating, but it's not.
Right. Water
So,
can't float on
yeah.
top of air, right?
Yeah,
It doesn't.
gravity.
Air cannot resist the water, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, you're right. I took that one like this.
Nice.
So you guys got it. Yeah, that was good.
Awesome.
All right. So this next one, the last one, it's even easier. So another thing about water, it always finds its level, right? No matter if I deviate. What's another word for level? I'd use a different word.
balance or...
Balance, a good one. So horizontal will be the one-word definition for level, because you could have a straight line that's in a slope, but it's not level, it's a slope, right? So it has to be horizontal. So since we understand the effect about water as well, that, always finds its level, which one of these 2 represents level as we know it? A or B?
A.
A, right? Yeah.
Horizontal.
Yeah, there you go.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I was thinking of like the curve of the Earth.
All right. No, I'm glad you brought that up. But
Yeah.
so the real reason I do this is because over 95% of the population believe this is what level means, even though we know it's this one and it has to do with that. Do you guys believe the Earth is a ball?
Yeah.
Yeah, right. So NASA in specific, they claim to have satellites orbiting the Earth, so they need to know the radius of orbit. So they need to know the radius of the Earth if they're supposedly going around it. So they do tell us the radius of the Earth is 3,959 miles, which is because a circumference of 24,901, which means there has to be curvature every mile. And every mile it increases because it's a curve, not a slope, right? They're telling us. So the first mile, there should be an 8-inch drop. Second mile, 32 inches. By the third mile, there should be 6 feet of curvature. So if we actually went to a giant lake and measure for this curvature, the lake is going to show us that the surface of water is going to be parallel because water cannot resist itself. It collapses to form an equal surface, perpendicular to the vertical. So they're trying to tell us, though, that water is bending 6 feet in 3 miles and 66 feet in 10 miles. But again, physics shows us that that's impossible. So the ball Earth is impossible, basically, based on the physics of water. So if I was to ask you guys, what's the number 1 proof that convinces you that the Earth is a ball?
NASA's pictures.
Okay, pictures.
NASA's pictures.
Okay, I'm glad.
Let me think. I think
Also, just the fact that you can go around.
Okay, circumnavigation.
Yes,
Okay,
yeah.
pictures. Okay.
Also like back in the whatever times, like when they would take a ship to sail off, like when it
Ships
goes
go
off
over the
horizon.
curve.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'll go with the pictures first, and then we'll go to the other point. So they don't actually call them photographs or pictures. These images from space, they actually call them images. So the reason why is because images like this, for example, this is the official NASA images. Can you guys tell the difference between these 2 images? Again, they're not photographs; they're images. What's the biggest difference between these 2?
The continent looks bigger.
Exactly, right? But these are official NASA images. This is from 2002, and this is from 2012. But again, they admit these are cartoons. But obviously, they don't call them cartoons, they call them composites. So in other words, the only place you're ever going to see curvature of the Earth is through images like this, or through, GoPro cameras that curve horizontal lines like this, for example. So whenever you see high altitude footage of an airplane pilot, for example, and you see curvature like this, is usually a GoPro that's just curving the horizon. So if we actually take a camera with a standard lens without the warping effect, this is what the horizon looks like. So how would you guys describe the horizon? Horizontal, meaning level, meaning no curve. You know what I'm saying? So another thing about the horizon is that if the horizon was truly the curve of the earth, because people think that ships go over the curve, right? First of all, if the curve was truly there, we should be able to physically measure it, right? If we could see it, we should be able to measure it. But here's another thing. When you bring out a camera and the boat goes out of your field of view and you zoom in with the camera, the boat comes back into view. So it's just a matter of perspective. So we have a limit to how far we can see. And the horizon is that limit. So the horizon, I don't know if you guys knew, is not a physical thing. It's an apparent thing. So if you were standing at 5 feet above sea level and you have your horizon, and I'm standing 20 feet above sea level, I'm going to have a different horizon than you. Because again, it's all due to perspective, and it's just the limit of our eyesight.
I see.
Yeah. So have you guys heard of this topic before? People that don't
We
believe?
have, yeah. I think it's a very interesting debate.
and controversial. I mean,
Yeah, I would agree.
I have a question for
Yeah,
you. Like, all right, so the gravitational constant, right?
Yeah.
So gravity is actually different around like the world, like different parts of the world, right? That's because the equation is based on the radius from the center to like whatever point you are on the surface, right? So because Earth, as like we know it in science, is an oval, at different parts of the world, like if it's like in the poles or like all the way like
Right, it's in like an oblate sphere.
yeah,
right?
it's gonna be different like gravitational constants, but based on this, like based on like the flat Earth theory.
So I'm glad you brought the oblique spheroid and the equal distance from the center to the surface. So that's how they redefine level in mathematics. They say that level is not a straight line or horizontal. They say that level is equal distance from the center to the outer circumference of a circle. So basically they're saying that level means curve. But that contradicts the oblate spheroid claim, because their claim is a perfect sphere. Equal distance from the center to, it's a perfect sphere. But if you're claiming it's an oblate spheroid, that contradicts your very definition of level, which only exists on paper, by the way. A real definition of level in construction is no deviation in elevation from one point to to another. That's level. That's that creates a plane, So here, let me just show you, because a lot of people like to bring up the stars, oh, just real quick. By the way, this is what stars look like, but real quick, because I know you brought up gravity. So I'm sure you heard of Einstein's modern theory of relativity. I don't know if you knew that theory debunked the Isaac Newton's mass attracting mass. So the reason why Einstein had to come up with this new theory is because the laws of motion proves that objects don't accelerate down. So when you release an object down, and you just let it go, this object is not accelerating down. And Einstein basically had to come up with this new theory of relativity, which says that this is not actually moving down, and it's the whole Earth reference frame moving up towards it. So from a globe-verse perspective, obviously that will mean the globe will have to be expanding if it's coming towards the objects instead of the objects coming towards the Earth. So that's where he came up with the warping and bending of space-time explanation, which nobody understands, by the way, not even him. It's just there to kind of like just give people an explanation. The fact is, the Earth is actually in constant motion, but it's a level plane, and that's why things fall or appear to fall. It's because they're decelerating. They're losing momentum when they fall. So there's
sorry to interrupt, but when I think of stuff falling to the Earth, I think of like the mass of the Earth, and then things like a large mass.
Because
they have a gravitational pull. It's not necessarily going to the object is coming to it because of the gravitational pull.
We were saying that gravity pulls the object down, right? Apparently. So here's one thing about motion and pressure. In order to have a motion of an object, you need pressure, right? You need to push it somehow, even air pressure. The only force that exists basically here that you can experience is pressure variance. So when people claim that there's pulling forces, like me pulling this without touching it, those forces don't exist. It's all pressure. So when people say, oh, I pulled it open or pulled it, that's just a description of direction, of moving something away from you or moving something towards you. But it's always pressure. In order to open your door, you need to apply pressure to the handle, regardless of what, if you move it away or close to you. So this pulling force doesn't exist. Pulling forces don't exist. Imaginary, invisible forces that can move objects without touching them don't exist. And that's why gravity is just a theory. I don't know if you guys knew that. And again, that's why Einstein had to come up with his bending and warping of space-time, which actually says gravity is not a force. It's just space-time bending, and apparently that's what makes objects fall. But again, they admit that objects don't fall. It's the Earth coming up to them. But again, from a globe perspective, it doesn't make any sense because it's bullshit. But from a level Earth perspective, that makes total sense because we have orientation here on Earth. We have up, down, left, right. In order to have orientation, you need to have something in motion. That gives you direction, and that gives you orientation. So the Earth is in constant motion, and that's the reason why things don't accelerate down. It's because the Earth is coming up to it. So, I mean, you guys have any other questions?
No, I think you have very interesting points.
No, yeah, I'm glad.
I appreciate this talk.
Let me just ask you guys before you guys go. If this was true and we were being lied to about the shape of the Earth, would that be something that would intrigue you or would be important for you to know, or do you think it just doesn't really matter?
Honestly,
hypothetically, if we were being lied to.
Hypothetically.
Would it matter?
I wouldn't care.
You wouldn't care. Okay.
I think that physics, as we know it as a subject, is based on just how we perceive the Earth like this as a globe and it has a structure.
I'm glad you used the word perceive because that's how we perceive it, but it's not what it actually is. But yeah.
Yeah, but I guess that would change a lot of the subjects. So
I think it'll be huge because all the institutions, especially universities, and astronomy, would have to be completely everything that they're claiming would just go out the window because they're starting from a false premise, and everything they build from this false premise. If you could prove the premise to be wrong, then everything they build on top of that just falls apart as well. It's theories based on theories, and if we could prove that theory wrong, then all the other theories that came from that are bullshit. You know what I'm saying? So again, water is gonna be the number one proof to the globe. But again, before you guys go, so you think it would matter? If we're being lied to, or
honestly, not too much.
Not too much.
Yeah, our lives wouldn't really change.
So what about if we were being lied to about our nature of our existence as human beings? Because we think we're on a space ball and we evolved from monkeys. You don't think that could change somebody's perception of what this life is and what you are as a human?
I feel like there are definitely some questions that you need to ask. Well, like hypothetically, I say hypothetically.
Yeah, hypothetically.
I still I respect your points and everything, but I personally still believe that. The Earth is still round.
I'm glad you use the word belief because I don't have beliefs. I understand either I know something or I don't. So I understand the Earth is not a ball, but again, I respect your beliefs, and I'm glad you admit that they're beliefs. But again, beliefs to me are for religions. When people believe in their certain religions because they can't prove it, they just need faith. They want it to be true, and there's a big difference there. You wanting something to be true, and then something just being true. So I do have some information here you guys could take. You could cross-reference because this information is being censored. And you guys want to take one? You guys could share it. Yeah, there you go. And my channel's on there. If you guys think you could prove the globe, you could leave me a comment there or something. And yeah, really appreciate that, man. And thanks for the chat, by the way. Yeah, you guys have a good one. That was a good conversation. I was gonna jump to showing them the stars and stuff, but I wanted to hammer on the claim of gravity since they brought it up. But yeah, that was cool. I'm working on asking more questions, like making them, because you know how they try to tell you, what does it matter? So I'm trying to be the one to ask that first now. I'm gonna try to do that. So I'm gonna ask them, okay, basically what I did, so you think if it was true, you think it matters? And if they say no, I'm gonna, well, if truth doesn't matter, what does? I should have said that. I kind of forgot, but yeah, I'm kind of focusing now on asking them the questions about the importance of this before they ask me. I think that's gonna be cool. Beat them to the punch, basically. God damn it. You gotta put all this away before the next one's coming. You guys want to give it a shot as a group?
I'll give it a shot.
Sure.
You're not recording me, right?
Yeah.
I don't want you to record.
Oh, if you don't want to be recorded, it's okay then. I'm doing this for a social experiment, so kind of a social experiment. So if you're camera shy, I understand.
Yeah.
What are you going to do though?
It's 2 very elementary level questions. If you guys want to give it a shot.
Them?
Sure, you're okay with?
Just ask me. If
Okay.
I know, then only put my...
Yeah, no worries. Trust me, I don't upload everything. So okay, so they have to do with water. Very elementary level.
Okay.
Easy. So could we agree once water is contained, first of all, they have to do with orientation. You know what orientation is? For example, if I have something like this, it's right side up, like this is sideways, and like this is upside down. That's 3 different orientations, right?
Yeah.
So a fun fact about water, regardless of the orientation of the bottle, water always goes down. It always seeks the lowest point, regardless of the orientation of the bottle. Right? So we could agree that water only has one orientation, you know, when contained. So since we understand that fact about water, you know, that it always shows us down, right? Which one of these two pictures, I painted the water blue with food coloring just to make it easier, but which one of these two is not in the correct orientation based on how water behaves?
I guess both are in the correct orientation because
this one's in the. Did you say this one's in the correct?
She's saying both of them are incorrect.
No, one is in the correct orientation and one is in the incorrect orientation. In other words, one of these should be upside down. I want to see if you guys can tell which one should be upside down. One or two.
This is a sponge, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's an orange, a plastic orange.
It's a plastic orange.
Yeah. Very easy, very easy. If you understand water always goes down, which one of these two is?
This one is
There you go. So, yeah, so this is the one.
That's the incorrect one.
No, this is the one that's upside down.
Yeah, so it is
Okay,
upside
okay,
down.
that's what you meant.
Yeah.
Okay, I thought you were talking about correct orientation.
Yes,
like,
yeah.
No, yeah, and it's because of the water. Can't
Yeah.
stick to the top. Actually,
Correct.
stick like this.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes.
yeah, you guys got it. All right, perfect. Yeah, so this next one's actually even easier.
Okay.
So another thing about water, you know, it always finds its level, right?
Mm-hmm.
No matter if I deviate, you know, it always levels out. You know, so what's another word for level?
Equilibrium.
Equilibrium is a good one. Horizontal will be the one-word definition for level.
Yeah.
So since we understand that fact about water as well, that it always finds its level, which one of these two represents level as we know it? You know, this one's even easier. A or B.
Saying that the bottom is horizontal.
Yeah, I mean, based on how the physics of water, basically.
See,
right?
Yeah, A is the right one.
Yeah,
because
okay.
the water typically has to stay flat.
exactly, because water can't resist itself. It always collapses to form an equal surface.
Yeah.
Exactly. So the real reason I do this is because over 95% of the population, including myself and maybe you guys, have been tricked to believing this is what level means, even though we know it's this one. You guys want to know how we were tricked? Do you guys believe the Earth is a ball?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So NASA in specific, they came to have satellites orbiting the Earth, so they need to know the radius of orbit, so they need to know the radius of the Earth, and they do tell us the radius of the Earth is 3,959 miles, which gives us a circumference of 24,901, which means there has to be curvature every mile. So the first mile is an 8-inch drop, second mile 32 inches, and by the third mile there should be 6 feet of curvature. And again, it has to be increasing because they're claiming it's a curve, not a slope. So if we actually went out in nature like a giant lake that was miles across to physically measure for this curvature, the water's going to show that it's going to be parallel to anything horizontal above it, but they're trying to tell us that water is bending 6 feet in 3 miles, but again, physics will show us that that's a lie. So if I was to ask you guys,
There are a couple of things that I wanted to confirm. You're assuming that the radius of the Earth and
no, this is what they tell us.
Yeah, Earth is not a perfect sphere. That's the first assumption that you make.
So I don't know if you knew. Let me just say this: the way they redefine level on paper for the globe Earth model is they say that level means equal distance from the center to the outer circumference of a circle. So that's how they redefine level. That contradicts the claim that it's an oblate spheroid. So that the oblate spheroid claim contradicts their own definition of level, which will be a perfect sphere because it's equal distance from the center to the outer circumference.
Yeah, no, but there is an assumption that's fundamentally made.
No, these are just claims that they're making. They're claiming it's a sphere, but water shows that it's not. But they also claim that it's an oblate sphere, which contradicts their own definition of level.
Yeah, no, if they claim it's a sphere, I'd call it an assumption, not a claim.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
It's because you can't. Nobody's measured the radius of the Earth exactly to a point to where they say that, I put my hand down. If it's a perfect sphere,
towards the center of the
I should
agree.
be pointing to the center of the Earth.
Exactly.
I don't.
It's an imaginary number, if you ask me. But people believe it's true. That's my point. Yeah. The Earth is not a ball, basically. The Earth is a level plane, and physics shows that. Water in specific.
Yeah, but then you're assuming that the Earth is a level plane across the line. You're saying that it's.
So yeah, it's if you ask me, Earth is a contained system. So there's no outer space, basically, as we know it. What they're telling us is above or out, like the stars, for example, those are just lights in the sky, and nobody actually knows what they are. So like this whole idea of outer space, I don't know if you guys knew, outer space is just a concept, which means it's just an idea.
What about the Hubble and Kepler?
Yeah, I would say these are just like Disney movies. I would say NASA is Disney for adults, or basically any other space agency for that matter. So, I mean, you guys have any questions?
No, not really.
Let me ask you guys this: if hypothetically, if the Earth wasn't a ball and we were being lied to at a mass scale, would that be something that would be important to know or look into? Or do you guys think that it doesn't really matter if we are being light source?
To me personally, not really. But for me, a lot of this actually makes a lot of difference, because I'm a robotics student and I need to deal with the Earth's surface a lot. I need to know how the magnetic surface of the Earth is operating. I need to know how the natural north is pointing to. Why does the compass point to a certain natural north? So I need to also take into account the curvature of the Earth. So that is part of my calculation, and that's how my math works. So when it comes, as much as I want to believe this, I have to believe that it is not flat.
So when it comes to engineering, because I'm glad you brought that up, surface of the Earth. When it comes to engineering, I don't know if you knew all the blueprints that are used to construct the bridges, railroads, that are miles across. None of the blueprints take account of Earth's curvature. It's all done through plumbs and levels, which are perfectly straight lines. If you look at any blueprints...
We must have bus.
All right, no worries.
But thank you so much.
All right, you guys take care. No problem. I don't know why I got a little... Like, my heart kind of started beating a little bit fast in that one. I don't know, maybe because it was like 5 of them. It's kind of like a little adrenaline I get you could say. Like my heart started beating. I don't know why. I think it was just their energy that, I guess it was all of them at once. Kind of felt it, and it kind of made me a little bit, I don't want to say nervous, but it kind of, I don't know, my heart just started beating a little bit fast. Like, it's kind of, again, like a little bit of adrenaline. That's the best thing I could describe it. They didn't even give me a chance to give them a flyer, but to be honest, they were well, the guy that was talking, he was pretty defensive. Which I get it. See if I could get one more. If not, then I'll probably call it. That one was a really short one. I didn't even drink any water. Let me see if I have it here. Okay. So, water is the image I use, but again, physics. When we go to physics and acceleration or motion, if hypothetically, all right, this is like to imagine it a little bit. If this bottle right here was in free fall, right, but we had like a mechanism, so like thrusters, for example, right, to move it, to be able to make it accelerate in a certain direction. If we were to release this bottle in free fall, in other words, it would be a free body, right? No matter what direction I start moving this, oh my god, or accelerate, it could be this way, it could be this way, or it could be this way, right? When I accelerate it, the water is always gonna move towards the back, of the acceleration, and then the air is gonna be on top of it, because air cannot resist water. Again, free fall, and then you accelerate it in that direction, it's gonna go that way. If you accelerate it in that direction, the water's gonna go the opposite way, and the air in the opposite way. And even when you accelerate it up, the water's gonna go towards the back of acceleration, the air is gonna go on top of it, right? Globe earthers and stationary earthers want us to believe that when we accelerate, in free fall, objects are accelerating down, but the water doesn't move to the top like this, like it should. It actually stays down. But in any other direction, water shows you the direction of the motion, or would show you. Any other direction, up, left, right, at an angle, angle down, angle up, like any other direction, the water will show you, except when it's going down. How's it going?
Hey, good morning.
Good morning. So I have two very easy elementary level questions, and see if you could get at least one of two. I think you could get both. They're pretty easy. So they actually have to do with water and orientation. So you know what orientation is? So if I could hold something right side up and then something sideways, that's a different orientation. And upside down is a different orientation. So you can hold your phone in portrait and landscape, different orientations.
Yes.
It's position, right? So fun fact about water, regardless of the orientation of the bottle, water always seeks the lowest point. In other words, always goes down and levels out, regardless of the orientation of the bottle. You know, that's the physics of water. It always goes down, right? Since we understand that fact about water, you know, it basically has one orientation. Which one of these two, I painted the water blue with food coloring just to make it easier, but which one of these two is in the incorrect orientation or not in the correct orientation? Based on how water behaves. Which one?
And what is the orange one?
Oh, it's just a plastic orange.
So plastic
you
orange.
just put it in there for reference.
So,
just
I mean, what material is it?
Huh?
What material is it? The
what
material-
medium? Oh, it's plastic. It's
Plastic, not sponge, nothing.
No,
else.
no, it's plastic. It's plastic.
Alright, that's interesting.
I could tell you this: the orange is floating in
It's
the water.
floating, yes.
I'll tell you that. That's for sure. I mean, that's obvious. But since we understand, you know, physics, basic physics, which one of the two is upside down?
Oh, that's interesting. I do it.
Hey, you got it. Yeah, I took
I'm just looking at I'm just looking at the water droplets.
Yeah. No, I mean, water's going to show you,
Yeah.
you know, the direction of down regardless of the picture. But you got it. All right. So this next one's even easier.
Okay.
So another thing about water, you know, always finds its level, right? It's part of the properties. I could deviate, but it still levels out, you know? What's another word for level?
Another word for level?
What could be another word for level? You got to use a different word.
Equilibrium?
Equilibrium is a good one. Well, the one word definition will be horizontal. Yeah, because we could have a straight line that's at a slope, but it's not level. It has to be a horizontal straight line. Yeah, that's what level means. So since we understand that fact about level as well, and that water always finds its level, which one of these two represents the level as we know it? A or B?
As we know it. So what is plumb line? Shutter plumb lines. So we don't know which is curved, which is like normal, nothing like that.
Yeah, this is a contained body of water, like a lake, for example.
A lake, okay.
Yeah, so which one represents the level as we know it? Like when we're observing a lake or measuring a lake, for example. Yeah, I know, the little bugs.
So what do you mean by the plumb line? Like the height of it?
So a plumb line, you could say it's perpendicular to the level.
Okay.
It's true vertical.
Okay.
So that's just a reference to show that.
So
That's
the
just
level
the vertical.
structure is like the height definition.
Yeah, the level structure will be the height that will be used to measure the water. So
Okay.
yeah, this is being used to measure the water. But since we
And so
understand
like
water,
the water level, the base of the level is water straight, or like that is curved. Like is there any?
so the surface of the water is what we're measuring.
Yeah.
So which one of these two, like for example, when we understand water always finds its level, right? Based on the physics of water that always finds its level, which one of these two represents level?
Based on the physics, I'll go with this one.
Yeah.
But looking at my lake at my village, there's always a little deviation due to wind and everything. Like let's consider real world experience. There's always wind flowing, so there's waves and everything.
Okay, ripples, I get it. But overall, though, overall, we could say
I go with this.
Yeah, I get it. Yeah, you're right. So the real reason I do this is because over 95% of the population, including myself and maybe you, have been tricked to believing this is what level.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know why?
Why?
Do you believe the Earth is a ball?
Yes.
Right?
No, I don't think it's a ball. I think it's like when you look at it from far, it's a ball, but when you go close, there's always a lot of deviations, make it a little bit of more of an oval kind of thing.
Yes. Okay, perfect. So NASA in specific, they claim to have satellites orbiting the Earth, so they need to know the radius of orbit if they're supposedly going around the Earth, right? So they do tell us the radius of the Earth is 3,959 miles, which means there has to be curvature every mile. So every mile, it increases too. So the first mile is an 8-inch drop, second mile 32 inches, and by the third mile there should be 6 feet of curvature. And in 10 miles there should be 66 feet. So if we actually went out to a giant lake that was miles across to physically measure for this curvature, the water is going to be parallel to anything horizontal above it, because that's what water does. It can't support itself. It forms an equal surface. But they're trying to tell us that water bends when contained. But physics shows otherwise.
That's the whole reason why actually, what is the level of water? Is it straight?
Well, that's the thing. It doesn't matter. As long as if water's contained, the surface is always going to be level.
Yes.
Always. But if we live on a ball, that will have to curve. The surface of water will have to curve. But when we go to physics, reality, and physically measure...
That's the whole reason I'm asking, is the base of the water straight? Or
the base of... The shape of the container doesn't matter. It could be bumps in the bottom.
Yes.
The water takes the shape of the container.
No, that is all right. Because I actually got this in my mind. Got the Earth curvature in my mind. Because you like mentioning miles of size.
Yeah.
So I got the Earth's curvature in my mind. The reason I'm asking, what is the water level contained in a flat base or this? Because like when you take a flat base, since the base is flat, the water will be contained at least to a certain extent. So the deviation will be comparatively lesser.
So if I make a hump, the water's going to hump too?
No.
But if I make a bump in the bottom, is the water going to bump?
No.
So why do you think that it does happen in a bigger scale? So if you're saying if my bottle had a bump here on the surface will be a bump too?
No, what I mean is, like, let's say...
My point is that no matter how the container, the bottom of it looks, flat, slants, doesn't matter, the surface is always going to be equal.
Yeah.
The surface is going to show you if the container is deviating or not. That's my point. But on a globe, the water cannot be level.
It will never be level, yes.
It should be.
But the gravity pulls it down.
I'm sorry?
The gravity.
Yeah, gravity. I don't know if you knew gravity, the claim that objects get pulled down by a magical force. I don't know if you knew that's just a theory. And Einstein actually came up with his modern theory of relativity to debunk that objects accelerate now. So it's the bending and warping of space-time is what he claims. So it's not a force that keeps objects...
gravity, but I didn't go for the relative theory yet.
That's the modern explanation of gravity that debunked Newton's claim of gravity, of mass attracting mass. They had to come up with that other explanation because the laws of motion proves that objects don't accelerate down. So that's why Einstein had to come up with his modern theory of relativity of bending and warping of space-time. But it's still just a theory. So again, it's just a theory to make you believe this. But physics shows us that it's this. You know what I'm saying? So you think, have you ever thought about this subject before? Have you heard of this subject before? Of people that don't believe in the ball Earth? No? Oh, okay. So have you heard of flat Earth?
A lot about that, and
I stay away from that word because there's a lot of propaganda behind flat Earth. The Earth is not flat. The Earth is level. And I'm going to tell you the difference. If you have something that's level, that means it has orientation. And if something has orientation, that means there has to be motion. So the Earth is in constant motion. And that's what gives us the orientation, the level that we experience. Flat is just the word to describe a surface with no bumps or indents. But the Earth does have high points and low points, mountains, valleys, canyons. So the correct term is level. So again, this whole propaganda on the internet, I know you heard of flat earthers and I don't call myself a flat earther. Again, that's just part of the propaganda, just to keep people away from the subject. The correct term is the Earth is a level plane, and nobody actually knows what's outside of it. So the Earth is like a terrarium. We're being contained. So we have air pressure. You can't deny that. 14.7 psi, which means there needs to be some sort of physical containment containing this air, because air expands in all directions. That's the physics of air pressure.
So this all theory stands on the basis of gravity as such. It's not actually proper theory, but the gravity doesn't exist.
Gravity as a force doesn't exist.
Yeah. So the whole theory is based on that.
So they claim gravity is the warping and bending of space-time, which is just a concept. It's just someone's imagination. It cannot be practically shown to actually accelerate objects. They do, or again, they don't claim objects accelerate down anymore. It's the Earth rising up to them. But obviously, from a globe, if something gets dropped in Australia and then something gets dropped in America, that means the Earth will have to be expanding. But obviously that doesn't make any sense. That's why Einstein, his theory of relativity is just mind-numbing to basically make people accept that that's the case. Because again, the laws of motion show that objects don't accelerate down. So mass attracting mass, the Newton's idea of gravity, has been debunked hundreds of years ago already by Einstein. But again, it's all bullshit at the end of the day because the Earth is not a ball.
Interesting.
Any questions before you go? About this subject?
I need to think about a lot of detail in a very short span of time. I need some time to think about it, but I'll get back to you.
Okay, here, let me give you some info to cross-reference, because there is a lot of propaganda online. And here's some basic information. The 6 main proofs are in there that debunk the globe. And that's my channel if you want to check it out. I have conversations with students all the time and with the public. And part of the reason why I do this is because it is being censored. If you go online on Google, you're going to get nothing but propaganda, misrepresenting, people just dismissing it, these professionals, scientists and stuff like that. But I'm just giving you that so you can cross-reference. Don't believe me. Trust your own common sense. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Thank you, man. Have a good one. You too. Yeah, I'm getting way better responses, I guess, from the 1 and 2, the upside down one. I think I'm feeling more comfortable with it now. That's for sure. That's when, like, when you're not comfortable with the way you present something, it's like it just feels like you're not doing it right. You know what I'm saying? I don't know. It's just, and I'm kind of OCD, a little bit myself. I like to do things a certain way. I like to do things right, I guess you could say. So this question was kind of like, damn, I don't know why people are not getting it. I don't know, maybe I'm not asking it right, blah, 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 blah. But now that I'm kind of rewording it, emphasizing about orientation before I ask the question, and showing the behavior of water and stuff like that, I think it makes it more simple. So when I do ask the question, people kind of understand. And I did get better responses this time than I do other times. So I think that's cool. The more comfortable I feel, the better the conversations as well. Yeah, I just need to work on, again, asking more questions. Yeah, it's cool that I say the facts, and all that, but also, you want to ask a lot. You want to make them think, as well. So that's where I kind of have to do that a little more, just a little bit more questions. But yeah, let me see how. Yeah, I know. Like I said, I do give a lot of information, and stuff like that. A lot of facts, Again, a lot of people, like myself, I'm the type of person that doesn't like to beat around the bush. And you hear this a lot from people too. Like, give it to me straight, right? That's like one of the lines. Okay, you believe the earth is flat? Okay, what's your number one proof, right? How many times have you heard that? Just give it to me straight, What's the, and that's basically kind of what I do. I just give it to people straight, which kind of does leave them a little bit speechless. But again, I got to kind of implement some questions in there so make them think a bit, but pretty fun. You see, that last conversation I had with that one guy, I didn't get my heart rate didn't go up, it was chill. But the group before that, again, because it was like 5 of them, I got a little, I don't want to say nervous, but maybe there was a little bit of nervousness in there, I obviously I was excited too, like a little bit of excitement and nervousness, and it's like, yeah, the adrenaline, huh? Yeah, that last guy was pretty cool, When people after the intro say NASA pictures, you should bring out the 2 paintings again and now ask them which one a picture is it. That's a good one, Ruben. I actually did bring out the paintings in one of the conversations, both of them, and I asked them what's the difference between both of them, and they obviously seen the content and size, but yeah, that's a good one. I asked them which one's a photograph and which one's a painting, and then just say that they're both paintings basically, but they're official NASA images, right? No, it's a good one though. I might do that, Ruben. I might throw in the picture and painting one after, huh? Once the conversation starts and they bring up the pictures of the Earth. Guarded Citadel, howdy. What's up? Yeah. Give it to me. Oh yeah, that's true. Give it to me straight, huh? A double meaning. Because the Earth doesn't bend. Well, the surface of water, I guess, doesn't bend. It's straight. Right. I still get a little nervous when I come out. Before I come out, like when I'm at home, I get a little nervous. I get the shits, right? Like the feeling, but it's just the nerve, kind of like a little bit of nervousness, but again, it just goes away. again, it creeps in situations like like this too, though. I always hated getting nervous before I go onto stage, but I realized it was a good thing. Oh, okay. Yeah, it's always good to put yourself in uncomfortable, not always, but you know, if you never put yourself in uncomfortable positions, or what's the word? I mean, that's uncomfortable, then you're never gonna change, right? If you want to change yourself, you gotta be willing to put yourself in uncomfortable positions, things that make you feel uncomfortable, you know. That's the only way, you know, you could change yourself and hopefully, you know, influence others to do the same. Because again, we're all living a false life right now. Everybody literally believes there's something they're not. And they literally think they live somewhere they're not as well. So everybody's completely lost right now, you know. So the best thing to do is just be yourself. Be 100% honest and just be yourself. You know, based on that. You know, it's okay if you don't know something. You know, don't start making up stories or just start repeating shit that you don't understand. You know, when you don't understand something, the worst thing to do is to repeat something you don't understand to defend that thing you don't understand. That's again, nothing personal, but that's what globe earthers do. They don't understand the globe earth model, but yet they'll defend it. You know what I'm saying? They literally defend something that they don't understand. You know, it's kind of pathetic. And now you have stationary earthers doing the same. You have stationary earthers defending a claim that they don't even understand. You know what I'm saying? It's crazy. The psychology is the same, you know? And again, it's a psychological game here that's happening. It's a psychological war. So the fact that flat earthers still have the same psychology that globe earthers have, like, that tells you that there's something else going on here, you know what I'm saying? Like, they're trying to keep people dumb and ignorant, you know? But again, it's gonna, you know, you guys are gonna have to figure that out yourselves. You know, you could hear someone say it, you know, but if you don't get it, if you don't understand it yourself, then it's just going in one ear and coming out the other. It's just words. Without meaning, words are meaningless. Literally. If there's no meaning in your words, it's pointless. You know? Pointless. That's true, V. Thomas, all wandering around in the dark. Right? Yep. Not bad. We'll see how much time. Yeah, wait like 10 more minutes, 5-10 more minutes, and see if anybody else stops. Do a quick stretch. Another thing is that's kind of underrated is confidence, right? If you have confidence, like, that's how liars like become good at lying, right? Because they're confident when they're speaking, like they speak with authority, right? And confidence, right? And again, they're using these tools against us, you know? What we should be doing is, people that understand this subject and you're somewhat well versed in it, all you need is a bit of confidence, and that's all it takes for you to come out and share this. Literally, trust me, like, confidence is key. It's what gets the point across as well. It helps get the point across, you know, because when you're not confident, people are gonna see that, and then people are gonna kind of doubt you, and then doubt the subject because they're doubting you in a way. Saying, especially if you're not well versed in and stuff like that, and if you go off topic a lot too, like into NASA bullshit, like, and just get stuck on stuff like that, then yeah, the NASA fuckery doesn't prove the Earth is level. It proves that they're you know, filming it in a studio, but still doesn't prove that the Earth is, you know, that the Earth is a level plane. You know, and that's where people when you focus on stuff like that, people, you know, they basically think you're just bullshit at that point. Okay, sure, there's anomalies with NASA footage. That still doesn't prove the Earth is flat. And they're right. You know, it doesn't. That's why I don't like to focus on that. I do bring it up here and there when they bring it up, you know, just to make points. But that doesn't, you know, prove the reality, basically. Reality proves itself. And that's physics of water, you know, the geometry we use to build, you know, all of these things that are physical. You know. But yeah. Yep, sophists. But yeah, all it takes is a bit of confidence, man. That can make a huge difference. Huge difference. Not only in your attitude when coming out to do this, but also getting your point across, you know. That's why, you know, I'm learning every day as well, you know. Every time I come out and do this, I'm learning, you know, how people react, how people, you know, respond, how people behave, you know. I'm fine-tuning what questions I should ask, what questions are more effective, you know, to get something, you know, to get a better response, or to get them to think about, you know, certain topics or certain things, you know. You know, there's no such thing as perfect, you know. You can only get better, you know. That's what I'm trying to do, you know. I'm trying to better my approach so that I can reason with people better as well, you know. I'm trying to build a bridge of communication, you know what I'm saying? The mainstream wants to destroy these bridges, you know, which is why this COVID bullshit and all these curfews and they want people to stay home again, because they're destroying these bridges of communication, you know what I'm saying? Even online, look how the other time they censored the comments, they also hide comments, you know, and they delete comments, you know, they're destroying these bridges of communication, because once people start communicating, guess what? We're gonna start to reason with each other as well, you know, and they don't want that. You know, guess what? When people start reasoning with each other and start making sense of what's going on around them, guess what? People are gonna start to do their own thing, especially once they realize that this whole system's consensual. You know, we're not being forced to participate in the system. I don't know if people know that, but it's all consensual because people just believe what they're told. So again, it's just a matter of time for people to realize that it's consensual, and it's to the detriment of all of us, the majority of us, to continue to participate in this fucking system. You know what I'm saying? So, yeah, you know. One thing I've learned that if you're not a self-motivated person, then you're gonna have a hard time doing stuff like this, activism, going out. You know, you gotta look at the brighter picture. You know, you gotta look at the good and the bad. You know, again, that's part of being self-motivated. You know, something good could always come from something bad. You know, so you guys want to take some information before I go? I'm already.
We have to do the orientation.
No problem. I didn't ask if you wanted to stay and talk. I just said if you wanted to take some information, but it's fine. It's funny because before, you know, I came out, you know, started doing these activism and stuff, you know, coming out to the public, I would consider myself an awkward person. Like I was the awkward person, you know, in the street. If someone tried to talk to me, you could say I was a little bit awkward. Sometimes I would ignore. You know, point being is that coming out here and, you know, talking to people and observing people, right, passing by and trying to have a chat, shows me that actually it wasn't that awkward as I thought. I mean, again, I think I still am, and I still, you know, but the level of awkwardness out here is kind of funny. It's pretty crazy. Like, I thought I was awkward, right? It's funny, man. Again, it just comes back to people not being very social outside of their own group, right? And I think that's a problem, you know. We claim to be social creatures, humans, right? We claim to be these, you know, the most social creatures out there, if anything, right? But But yeah, you come out here and try to socialize, and everybody's awkward. Nobody wants to go out of their little social groups already. If anything, it's little cults, not social. It's not socialism, it's cultism, if anything. It's little cults, you know, that are part of a big cult, you know, that is just about competing against each other, you know. It's not a community. It's not socializing. It's a cult with mini cults in it. And that's why everybody's so awkward with each other. Because it's a competition. It's just cults versus cults, you know. Oh man, it's pretty crazy. Oh my god. Alright. I think I'm gonna start wrapping it up. Oh yeah. I started playing PC games in 10 years, Battlefield 2022, I'm still quite one, man. Nice one. I haven't played a video game. Well, I do play video games, I'm not gonna lie, but I only play like a football game, soccer, here in the States. Yeah, it's only when I have time, you know, with kids, you know, and work and all that, you know. I try to squeeze it in here and there when I can, but yeah, I haven't played like Battlefield or Call of Duty in a while. But I'm not gonna lie, when you get into those games, like, they're pretty fun. I'm not gonna lie, you know. I could see why people get stuck on them like crazy, you know. But I trip out on these streamers though. The streamers that stream 8 hours a day, every day, like, that cannot be fun. That's for sure. that cannot be fun. Hell no. I get you know, after maybe an hour or two, I get kind of bored, you know, if I even get that, you know. But yeah. Yeah. All right. I'm gonna start wrapping it. So, thanks again for everybody that showed up. Yeah, I'm gonna be having fun. I don't know if you guys have seen my post with the big banner, but maybe in the next couple of weeks, maybe in a week or two, I'll be taking it to downtown Riverside. So that's gonna be fun. That's for sure. It's gonna be on a weekend too. So for those who want to catch that live of me going out with the big banner, it's gonna be either next. No, it's not gonna be this weekend because probably next weekend for sure. Hopefully, but we'll see. All right. Thanks again. See you guys on the next one. Peace.